Survival Dispatch Insider. So we've done a number of videos and articles on medical stuff, and so as I'm here, they said, bring your stuff in. Let's see what you got. So there is no one right way for a medical kit. It's purely entirely up to you, your training, your environment, etc. But these are a few things that I carry. So this is kind of my boo-boo kit, and this is just a pouch that I acquired and just repurposed. This is in my everyday pack. Just sits in my backpack, and I actually had cause to use it the other day. So what we have here is this bag has got your Band-Aids in. It also has sort of different Band-Aids. Some you'll find some work better than others. We have some steri strips. If you know how to use those, they're very useful. We have some prep ointment for steri strips so that you can actually clean the wound properly. And this particular one's called Nasal. It's actually like a medical adhesive, and you use that with the steri strips. So either side of your wound, you put this stuff, and it helps the steri strips to stick. While I'm mentioning that is, I see a lot of places they go, oh, come to learn suturing, you'll need to know that. But post-disaster, you don't want to be closing a wound up because you're going to let the infection fester inside that pocket you've created. So you always want to let those try and heal naturally. Assorted different Band-Aids, different kind. Antibiotic ointment in individual pouches rather than a tube, because once you open it, you've opened it, so individual use. On the outside here, I just have a weather wind chill index and heat index card, just because I had them floating around. Carry a pair of gloves in here. We have hydration fluid. I use this stuff all the time. It's pretty good, actually. So if you have somebody who's dehydrated, this just adds electrolytes and stuff. So handy. Hemostatic dressing. So there's a couple in here, and this is the stuff I actually had to use the other day. So these are the smaller packets. So both these are, this is 5 foot, yeah, this is 5 feet. So it's 5 feet of ribbon gauze. This comes in various different sizes. This is the stuff I had to use on, what simple cut, but it was right across the top of the finger, and it was arterial bleeding. And you put gauze on, it just soaked right through in seconds. Put this stuff on, and it held it fast for the rest of the day, and the person did end up having to go get 4 stitches. So this little bag just has gauze pads in it. So again, your minor wounds, there's some different gauze pads in here. So minor stuff, some gauze roll to keep that kind of stuff in place, a couple of different ones in here. And then we have some other minor stuff. So BioFreeze is kind of like for muscle pain and things like that. Keep a packet of that in there for some reason. More antibiotic stuff. Hydrocortisone Cream. You can go to the dollar store and you can stock up on this stuff. I mean, you can just empty the shelves, which is what I tend to do. Let's see. This is more antibiotic ointment. Got quite a bit of that in there. It seems to acquire itself. Some anti-diarrhea medication, some tablets. It's something you don't want to be caught without, especially if you go somewhere where the water's questionable, or the food's questionable, etc. And these are 2 little things, a hand cleaner, which actually just playing with them feel like they're dry, so they need to be replaced. So, I've got something else in here too. A couple of pencils to write stuff down, golf pencils, and oral gel analgesic. If you have ever had a toothache, they seem to always occur on a weekend when dentists are closed and emergency rooms are not equipped to handle dental problems. So this oral gel stuff is great for toothaches, great for if you get an abscess on there. Oil of clothes is another good thing I don't have in this kit, but for toothaches, if you've ever had one, they can be really debilitating. So that's what's in the boo-boo kit, as we call it. Put that to one side. So this is my IFAC, individual first aid kit, or immediate first aid kit, depending on what terminology you want to use. This one has a pouch on the outside for my tourniquet. And individual first aid kits are designed for you. So if you've got a group of you, everybody should have one. They should be configured the same, set up the same, so that when you go to help somebody, you're using their stuff. If you ever come across, an accident or whatever, always use other people's stuff because you don't have to worry about replacing it. I was a medic for 20-some years, and so that's how some of this is put together based on my experience. Similar kind of thing though, so an individual or immediate first aid kit is designed to take care of immediate life-threatening injuries, which is uncontrolled bleeding and airway management. So that's what is in here for that purpose. Again, we have the hemostatic dressing. This one is longer. This is, it doesn't say how long it is. Well, it's longer than the other stuff. Again, there's plenty of videos out there. The manufacturer's got some videos on YouTube. The idea of hemostatic dressings is you're not plugging the top of where the blood's coming out from. You're trying to get it into the hole where the bleeding is. And I'll show you some other stuff I carry to help with that as well. But if you've got a laceration that's arterial bleeding, squirting bright red stuff, this is what you need to be able to stuff in the hole. And you have to get it to where the bleeding's coming from for it to be effective. Gloves. So we've got some gloves here. Nasal pharyngeal airway. These are great. They're very easy to use. They are designed to keep the airway open. So if the person passes out, muscles don't relax, tongue doesn't fall back and block the airway. And need some lubrication with that because you try and stick one of these up somebody's nostril and dry, not very nice. So we have some lubrication. Carry hemostats in here. That's for when you really can't get to the wound. Don't want to have to use that. I do carry a trauma card, so you can write the information on there. This one's got pretty beat up, but I'm going to be passing that care off to paramedic or whoever else arrives, so I can put some basic information on here, especially if I've put a tourniquet on or something. It's kind of obvious. I pick up a bunch of these, put some string around it. You can put it around their neck, tie it to an appendage, whatever you need to do. Let's say that one's pretty beat up. Something I recently added based on experience and something that happened. So this is what they call Celox A or Celox A, whatever your pronunciation is. And this is the powdered form of this stuff, and it's in a syringe. And so you take the cap off, you put the plunger in, and you can actually squirt it into a wound. Or if it's a wound that you can't squirt into, you can pour the powder in. It's going to help clotting and work real well. While we're on bleeding control, have the good old Israeli bandage. These things they've been around for a long time. The newer ones, when you undo them, there's a piece of cotton that stops the whole bandage unrolling. So piece of gauze, padding, and then there's elasticated bandage used to keep it in place. We have some hemostatic sponges. These are just small ones, another different type of packaging, same kind of material as that. Couple of pieces of gauze. Why they're in here, I don't really remember why, but just again, in case I don't have any access to the other one. The other thing that's in here is a chest wound seal. So these are designed for holes in the chest cavity. What happens is that with stab wounds, gunshot wounds, penetrating injuries to the chest, the air starts coming in and out of that hole rather than your chest is sealed, and when you breathe, the vacuum your chest creates when you breathe, if you take a deep breath, draws the air in. If the air goes in and out of that hole, you can't breathe properly. You can end up with a collapsed lung. Very, very difficult to breathe. So these are designed to go over that hole, but if the excess air builds up, there's a vent in them that lets the excess air out of the chest cavity. So good for chest injuries, and there's two in this package. That's why I like this particular brand, and it fits in the pouch well, which I'm going to have to try and put it all back in when we're done. Pair of trauma scissors, just to be able to cut clothing away, because if you can't see it, you can't treat it. So something handy to have. So that's in the individual first aid kit. All right, moving up. This is a leg drop kit that I came across, and the company that I get some of my stuff from. And so this is, if I'm out with the guys and we're doing stuff in the field, 99% of the time I have this on. So they should all have one of these on, but I've got this. And this is basically a IFAC on steroids. So as you can see, there's 3 tourniquets. Behind them are 3 Israeli bandages, so there's 3 of these stuffed in behind there. And it's designed that there's a belt, this clips on your belt, and it just will open up and hang like that. On the outside here, little pouch, got some gloves in it. Keep them in there. And you want to periodically check your gloves, because if they've been in the heat a long time in your car, they can degrade. Pair of trauma scissors. And let's see, let's start from the front. So we have 2 chest decompression needles. So if you've got somebody that's a paramedic, been trained to use these, and a lot of the military medics now, and even corpsmen, et cetera, are being trained how to use these. These kind of go along with this chest seal dressing, but if you're trained on how to use one, this allows you to get the excess air out of the chest cavity if it's causing the lung to be compressed and collapsed. Trauma scissors, marker pen for writing on one of these cards, or on the person's forehead if you've put a tourniquet on. A couple of nasal pharyngeal airways with the obligatory lubricant. Just a regular 4x4 dressing. 4 of the better in shape cards for keeping people's information on. And then in the back here we have the Celox injectable, Celox A. We have a small ribbon. Lots of stuff in here. We have, this is a different brand, but again, a hemostatic dressing. Another chest seal. Actually, I think there's 2 of them, different makes. 2 different makes of chest seal. So if I have 2 chest seals in here, plus obviously the one in the individual first aid kit. And that's what we've managed to cram in there. Oh, not forgetting the obligatory piece of duct tape. So if I put any of these dressings on and they don't stay in place well enough, I've got some duct tape to put them on with. I try not to use duct tape because when you try to take it off, it's not very pleasant. But usually that's somebody else's problem and not mine. My job is to keep them alive to get to definitive care. So that's what goes in this kit. You know, like I said, this is with me. If we go out in the field, we go shooting, go to the range, it's what I'm carrying with me.